A woman, sexually aroused by strangling young girls, took pleasure listening to their violent screams as they took their last gasping breaths. Afterwards, she would then conduct sadistic experiments on the bodies while pleasuring herself sexually in various ways. This killer was able to get away with multiple killings for nearly 11 years due to the authorities covering up the crimes. Let's find out together how she became sick and how she was able to get away with murdering children for so long. This channel is about lesser known serial killers. If you're interested, I upload new content every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, if you're ready, let's get started. 1953 in the country of Hungary, but in a rural area on the outskirts of a town called Piroska Ladanyi. I hope I got the name right. An 11-year-old girl by the name of Marika had plans to go and play with some of her friends this particular day. Before she was able to go out, her parents instructed her to complete her chores first. The task that she was responsible for was to go to the market. Marika went shopping in the town and encountered a strange woman. Marika was on an errand purchasing potatoes for her family when this strange woman announced that she had extra potatoes at her home. The woman told Marika that she could have them for free if she were interested in them. Marika was enthusiastic at her proposal. After she finished her shopping, Marika followed the woman to her home. The strange woman instructed Marika to have a seat while she went to retrieve the potatoes that she had for her. Prior to leaving the room, the woman turned and gave Marika a book to read. While she sat and read, the strange woman came behind her, pulled out some electrical wire, and then strangled Marika to the floor as she fought for her life. This continued until Marika stopped breathing and was lifeless. Moving off of impulse, this strange woman had no plans after killing this young child. Warning, if you have weak stomachs, you might want to skip the next 20 seconds of this story. First, this strange woman undressed the child's body. Next, she stripped off her clothing and laid on top of the still warm, naked, dead body. This sick killer then began to grind her own body against the victim's deceased, warm corpse until the woman relieved herself sexually. She desecrated the young child's body one last time by taking a carrot and jamming it into the victim's vaginal cavity. Afterwards, the strange woman covered the body with a blanket and dragged it using the cord still wrapped around the child's neck to drag the body along the ground. The child was then dumped into an abandoned well hidden on this woman's property. The parents of the child notified the police after the girl didn't return home that evening. At the time, Hungary was occupied by the Russian army since the end of World War II. Russian police officers did not want to investigate the disappearance due to the possibility that one of the Russian soldiers were involved with the child's demise. For years, the occupying soldiers were known to sexually assault and take advantage of the local. If this possibility were true, it may cause a local uprising. The police continued to downplay the child's disappearance by lying to the parents about the results of the investigation. This would be the first of several homicides that would be covered up by the authorities until the killer was brought to justice. To find out how this murderous woman became this way, we have to start at the beginning. The year was 1934. Piroska Ladanyi was born to a mother who was a well-known local sex worker. Piroska was conceived during a sex worker encounter, and her father had no interest in being in the child's life. Piroska had 4 siblings, all of which had different fathers. Growing up, her mother forced her to become a sex worker to help take care of the family. Piroska and her mother took turns selling themselves for money or sometimes even food. Allegedly, Piroska was forced to drop out of school in the 5th grade due to being ridiculed by her classmates for being a sex worker and for also spreading sexually transmitted disease to some other students. As an adult, Piroska began to hate and become sexually aroused and envious of young girls who had an easier life compared to her own. A year later, Piroska met a 13-year-old girl by the name of Horrifying, who happened to be selling chickens at the local market. Piroska struck up a general conversation with the girl, and after several minutes of jokes and laughter, she befriended the child by offering to sell her chickens at an extremely low price. The young girl accepted the offer and followed Piroska back to her home. When she arrived, she offered a seat along with a book to read until she returned with the chickens that she had for sale. As soon as the girl took her attention away from Piroska, she then pulled out an electrical cord, strangled the young girl to death. Afterwards, she removed all of the child's clothing and laid her limp body flat on the floor. Piroska opened the child's legs and, check this out, began to have fellatio with the child's vaginal cavity. Piroska continued to do this until she relieved herself with an orgasm. The body of the victim was then dumped into her well. For the next several months, 3 additional juveniles were reported missing to the police. In each case, the victims were tricked into trusting Piroska and then murdered by strangulation after dropping their guards. She also desecrated each body sexually until she was able to relieve herself via orgasms. In one case, she attempted to have fellatio with the corpse and noticed signs of an STD. She became so enraged and turned off that she immediately disposed the body without pleasuring herself. The authorities refused to investigate the disappearances and would not accept any photographs or assistance from the parents of the missing children for fear of encouraging a riot. The local citizens became so enraged at the authorities for their lack of assistance, they came together and boycotted the police department. The authorities had no leads. That all changed one day when a young girl reported that a strange woman lured her to the woman's home. After falling asleep, the woman attempted to strangle the young child with the wire. The child managed to escape the woman's noose by fighting her way out. The child led the police to the woman by the name of Piroska, and she was brought in for questioning. When the authorities went to search Piroska's home, they found the abandoned well filled with the bodies of her victims. She was charged for 5 murders and found guilty. Piroska was given a death sentence and was executed by hanging. If you enjoy more stories such as these, click on one of the suggested videos above. God bless and stay safe.